Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. It is Rivals of Ixalan launch weekend. We've been waiting a long time for this, but finally this weekend we find out which cards were maybe the ones that were overhyped, which ones are the real deal, as competitive play finally begins. Now, today's video, we are not going to be looking at Rivals of Ixalan cards in particular. We did that the other day, and I'll link that at the end of this one in case you missed it. But we will be looking at everything else, and not only the standard cards, but also Modern and Legacy, as we always do. A little bit of Pauper mixed in there, too. So we got a lot to talk about today. I want to get things started relatively quick. Just really fast, though, before we get into it, fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to support us, one of which is our Patreon page. Always appreciated when you check these things out. You'll also find our product links on Amazon. If you make any purchases on Amazon, once you go through that link, we get a small percentage. And finally, you'll also find Flipside Gaming offering a promo code for our viewers. Hopefully save yourself some cash and also support the channel at the same time. With that being said, let's get into it. We're going to start off with Standard, as we always do. Top 5 cards that have lost value this week. But first, I have an honorable mention because this is no longer a Standard card. Rampaging Ferocidon, now 95 cents to 3.29 this week. Now, not only are we getting an infusion of new cards with Rivals of Ixalan this weekend, but Monday we had a ban and restricted list update where we lost 4 cards to the World of Standard. They were all banned. This one had the biggest impact because it was rare, financially anyway, the biggest impact, I'll say. So, yeah, this card is losing a lot of value due to that banning. But now let's get into the top 5. Number 5, Chandra, Torch of Defiance, down 16 cents to $30. And Chandra has been a big player in the last couple metas. That's not going to change with this meta, I have no doubt. So why is she taken down a little bit? Well, a couple of reasons. First off, I want to point out, none of the cards you're going to see in today's top 5 are hemorrhaging value or anything. A lot of people are just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. They're not trying to unload a lot of cards yet. That will change over the next few weeks, especially after this weekend when people see what decks are perhaps going to be competitive and maybe decide which one they want to build and play. Then you're going to see some bigger changes with people selling off some of the older cards they don't want to use anymore to pick up some of the newer cards and that type of thing. But at least right now, I think Chandra's safe. She also sees a lot of play in other formats too. She'll show up in Modern and like some of the Jund decks as well as Land Destruction. In Legacy, sometimes like Sneak Attack decks will play her. So she has a little bit of a foothold other places as well. The big thing going against her, though, is the fact that she's a Kaladesh card and tons of Kaladesh have been printed. It's hard for her to outpace the supply. There's a large supply of this card. So even when demand goes up, sometimes this card will see a temporary increase, but expect it to kind of settle back down again just because the copies are out there. They're not hard to find if you look. Number 4, Blooming Marsh. Down 18 cents to 5.50. Again, not a huge decrease or anything like that. Percentage-wise, a little bit larger from Chandra, but this is a card that sees a lot of play in various Modern decks right now, and I think that's kind of this card's bread and butter, and that's not going to change. Standard has maybe lost a little bit of interest, partially due to some of the bannings we saw this week, but also even like things like the Constrictor deck and such wasn't doing as great towards the end of the last meta, so people were already starting to kind of jump off that train. Number 3, Herald of Anguish, down 21 cents to 2.45. You're going to see a couple of these artifact-centric cards show up on the list this week, and again, it's not huge losses necessarily, but again, percentage-wise, this one's pretty decent. This is one of the cards from the Grixis artifact deck. And I do think people are a little apprehensive about buying into a deck like that right now, considering not only has a Braid kind of kept those decks in check pretty well, but you also now have Shatter, you have Naturalize entering the format. So I think people are just steering clear of artifact-centric strategies. And number 2, second verse, same as the first, Tezzeret the Schemer, down 23 cents to 4.23. Card we've seen in like Marionette decks, for example. But again, I think people are steering clear of some of these artifact-centric builds right now. They're just a little nervous with all the hate out there. And number 1, As Foretold, down 39 cents to 10.93. Maybe not a huge surprise. We saw this start to snap back a little bit last week too. Had huge increases through the month of December, so this snapback is kind of expected. Now, the card itself isn't seeing play in Standard as much as it is Modern, of course. In Modern, you're seeing this show up in the As Foretold Living End deck, which was very popular in the month of December. Big question now is with this card, can that deck sustain and put up results going into 2018? That's what we need to see. If it does, this card has potential for a little more growth. If it doesn't, then you're going to see it continue to slide. All right, let's move on to the top 5 cards that have gained value this week. And these cards are all cards that have been hot due to speculation they will be good in the new Standard meta. This weekend, the rubber meets the road. We'll see if these pan out or not. Expect big changes over the next few weeks. Number 5, Torrential Gearhulk, up 81 cents to $12.26. And this card did take a little bit of a hit in the world of Standard when a Braid came out. Now we have Shatter, we have Naturalize, other cards too. Are we worried about that? I don't think the control deck that runs this is too concerned, because sometimes they get away with it. If they do, wonderful. If they can't get away with holding this on the battlefield, well, they still got the Enters the Battlefield effect, and the Flash can surprise your opponent at the right time. So there is a lot of upside to this card other than the 5/6 body. So I think, yes, it does continue to see play, especially considering control decks, I think, will do pretty well in the next meta. A lot of cards that have been added to the format will help the deck, as well as you have powerhouses out there already like Search for His Contest. So yeah, this card sticks around. I have no doubts. Again, the only thing that will hold its value back a little bit is the fact that it's a Kaladesh card, and there's a lot of them out there. This card has seen some modern play too, even in some control decks like Jeskai Control, usually like a 1-of. Number 4, Metallic Mimic, up 82 cents to $9.95. So you don't need a crystal ball to know that Tribal is going to play a role in the upcoming meta, right? Merfolk look like they're going to be amazing. Vampires look like they could be very strong as well. Big question is, do those decks or one of those decks run this? The answer is probably yes. So a lot of people have been investing in this card. Again, we'll have to see how the brews pan out over the next few weeks, but there's a good chance this card sees additional play now in this new meta. Number 3, Regisaur Alpha, up $1.01 to $3.99. So a couple things you want to know about this card first. It is a rare from Ixalan. There are tons of copies out there. The market is super saturated right now. Secondly, Explorers of Ixalan box set also includes this card, so another avenue for more product to get out there. So keep that in mind. Adjust expectations when it comes to values. But with that being said, this had a pretty nice increase this week. Why is that? Well, that dinosaur deck's going to give it a second go in this meta. Can they get there? Well, the way this card interacts with Ghalta makes me feel like it's got a pretty good chance. Even if you just added Ghalta to the old dinosaur deck, it's a lot better. So imagine perhaps adding some of the other new cards too. It's got a shot. We're going to have to wait and see how it pans out, if it can hang with maybe some of the decks that have faster starts. That's the big question. But I do think with Ghalta, it's got some potential, and because this card interacts with that card, yeah, this is one to watch. Number 2, the Scarab God, up $1.68 to $31.49, finally ticks back up a little bit after many, many weeks of going down. So why is that? A lot of it has to do with the banning. When players saw that 4 cards were banned, they knew that some of the stronger strategies were being nerfed. Now, yes, in one way that could hurt the Scarab God, but then when you see a lot of nerfing like that, it's natural to look at what the stronger cards are that exist in the format, this being probably the strongest. So it stands to reason that this card gets a little bit better if other strategies get a little weaker. So I do think there was a lot of excitement around this card this week. Now, how that excitement actually pans out in results over the next couple weeks, we'll wait and see. This card is going to be a part of the next meta, I have no doubt. The power level is certainly there for it. It's just in what numbers. That's what we have to see as things start to evolve and change. With that being said, there is also a lot of copies of this printed, so keep that in mind. I do think this will tick up a little bit over the course of the next few weeks, especially if it puts up some good results. It could even go back up to $40 potentially, but after that, expect it to slowly decline like it was doing prior. Number 1, Search for His Kanta, up $4.65 this week to $17.62. Wow, this is a key card in control decks, of course, which a lot of people are excited about, and there's a lot of speculation that these decks are going to be good, as you can see by the increase this week. But it's not just standard. This card is actually seeing a lot of play in other places like modern control decks. It's showing up in Legacy Miracles, actually feels really good in that deck. So this is a deck that's already established itself in a lot of places. The only thing that could slow down its climb, and this will come into play at some point, maybe not over the next few weeks, but at some point be wary, because this is a rare from Ixalan, and there's tons of copies of this card in existence. So even though there's a scramble for it right now, a lot of people want it for their standard decks or even their legacy or modern decks, this will cool off at some point. So be careful with this one. Just watch it real close. All right, let's move on to modern. We're going to talk about the cards that have lost value this week. Coming in number 5, Grove of the Burnwillows from Future Sight, down $1.41 to $30.29. This is a card that did see a reprint Iconic Masters as a rare, so another set that has really saturated the market right now. So you can find a cheaper alternative to this version. This card ticks down. It will tick down some more. It's not going to hold its value as well as, say, Horizon Canopy because it sees far less play than that card, but it does see play. And the fact of the matter is there are still a lot of players, though, that will gravitate towards this original Future Sight version. It's a little harder to find, which will mean it will help hold its value, but also has a very unique look. So put that together, and yes, this does go down more, but at some point it does stabilize. Number 4, Celestial Colonnade, down $1.61 to $52.30. So this is the second week in a row now that this card snaps back a little bit after huge increases across the month of November and December. So this goes to show you that control decks, again, very popular, whether it's Jeskai control, Azorius control. These decks are doing really well right now in Modern, and this card does snap back a little bit, but expect this to probably stabilize quickly and then start going back up in value again. I think the card's that popular. It just really needs a reprint. We'll have to see if it shows up in Masters 25. Number 3, Chalice of the Void from Modern Masters is down $1.78 to $79. So this one's down a tad bit this week. Both of these have been climbing, both the original and this version of the card. As a matter of fact, spoiler alert, you'll see the original version on our next list. So these cards are just stabilizing close to the $80 point, which is probably where they will stay. Number 2, we got a Tarmogoyf back on the list. It's been a few weeks. This is the Modern Masters version, down $2.35 to $76.15. Talked a lot about this card in other videos, so I don't want to spend too much time, but basically all the Goyfs have been going down due to the fact they're seeing less play in both Legacy and Modern, but that is mostly due to Fatal Push coming into those formats, so it really hurt this card quite a bit. Now, does the card see no play? No, of course not. The card's still out there, and at some point it stabilizes. I think it stabilizes around the $60 to $70 price point, probably. Number 1, Mox Opal from Modern Masters 2015, down $2.57 to $67.39. So don't let this scare you that its number 1 is losing value. In a few moments, we're going to see the original version on the next list going up in value. Spoiler alert, so watch for that. But also, too, the playability of this card doesn't change. This is awesome in Vintage. It's great, of course, in Modern Affinity. It's great in Modern Lantern Control. It's just awesome in so many places. This is just normal stabilization this week. All right, let's move into the top 5 Modern cards that have gained value. Number 5, Burning Inquiry, up $1.64 to $2.45. Interesting one, right? It's a common having a nice percentage increase, not a bad value increase either, honestly. So why is this? Well, there is a Hollow One deck in Modern that's actually putting up some decent results on Magic Online. Now, is that the hot deck of the month for January? I don't want to go there quite yet, but if the deck continues to catch on before the month's over, that might be our hot deck of the month. We'll have to wait and see. So this is a card that goes up a little bit. I mean, keep in mind, this is a common, so adjust expectations for value or growth of this card. But maybe some of the other cards in that deck could get hot soon too, like Hollow One. Number 4, Karn Liberated, up $1.77 to $72.99. This is the new Phyrexia version. Card just continues to be super hot. Really popular card because of the Tron builds, which not only can put up great results, but it's also a very fan favorite build out there. So yeah, Karn will continue to creep up until we get a reprint. Maybe Masters 25, who knows. Number 3, Sword of Fire and Ice, up $1.98 to $49.64. This is the Modern Masters version. And this card sees legacy play like Death and Taxes. A few other decks too will show up in, but another card that really could use a reprint. Number 2, Mox Opal from Scars of Mirrodin. So I mentioned this earlier, up $2.23 to $69.51. So one goes down, one goes up, but notice price point, they're pretty close together as they're starting to edge up to the $70 mark. Number 1, Chalice of the Void from Mirrodin. So again, I spoiled this one earlier too, up $2.62 to $79.15. So again, one goes down, one goes up, but these are just sitting right below $80. All right, let's move on to the world of Legacy. It looks like Legacy is maybe starting to heat up a little bit, maybe some more action when it comes to buyouts or at least attention on certain cards. So let's see what lost value first. Number 5, Vesuvian Doppelganger from Unlimited, down a little bit this week, $17.51 to $19.99. Number 4, Jihad, down $21.91 to $80. So this will look like the target of a buyout last week. It's already coming down in price, which is probably due to the fact they are already being reintroduced into the market. So this is one to watch. It will probably continue to slide down next few weeks. Number 3, Underground Sea from Unlimited, down $30.65 to $519.96. Number 2, Mishra's Factory, the winter variant from Antiquities, down $45.05 to $149.95. This card was kind of funny because it got a lot of attention around the holiday time, and I think that was due to a lot of Commander players trying to put together holiday-themed decks. Because what happened was we were allowed to play with the silver bordered cards for a limited time in Commander. That ended on January 15th. But a lot of players gravitated towards those holiday cards, which were silver bordered, and then threw in things like Goblin Snowman in this, and it's kind of a cool idea. But when that happened, I think some more spiky folks saw that and decided that they were going to try to buy this card out. So this card looked like it was being bought out last week, And again, it appears like the copies are quickly being reintroduced into the market. And number 1, the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, down 92.28 this week to $1,499.95. All right, let's look and see what has gained value this week. Number 5, Jazam Jin. Wow, up $70 to $1,025. I've said it last few weeks, the sky's the limit for this card. Super iconic card, great 93-94 formats. It's Arabian Nights reserve list, getting harder and harder to find in good condition. All of the pieces are there for this card to be incredibly hot and take off even harder than it already has. Is this truly a $1,000 card today? I'm going to say no, because I do expect it to snap back a little bit because of the huge growth it has been seeing recently. The growth feels pretty legit too. It doesn't feel like buyouts or market manipulation. I will say I'm sure people are buying this card in higher quantities since they've seen the price going up, but I don't think it's necessarily like strong all-in manipulation or anything like that. I think this is just one of those cards that is just going to keep growing and growing and growing. Could be one of the big Magic cards by the end of the year. It already really is, quite honestly. So, yeah, incredible card here, and expected to snap back a little bit, but it's not going to lose a whole lot of value, I don't think. Number 4, Volcanic Island from Unlimited, up 70.05 to $577.50 this week. Number 3, Diamond Valley, up 88.09 to $376.52. This was a card that was a target of a buyout. Since then, it's been trying to find its price point. It's up a little bit this week. Number 2, The Abyss, down $220.17 to $600. This one's kind of interesting because over the course of the week, this actually was losing value. It had the lowest price point I've seen in a long time for the card yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I was watching this card this week, and I was working on the slides for it yesterday, and I said to myself, you know what? It continued to drop even as recently as 24 hours ago, and I felt like this will be ripe for a buyout. So that was what I was going to say in this video for today. But it looks like somebody caught on the low price yesterday and probably picked up those lower price copies that were in the system. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting because I'm not really sure why the price went down as quickly as it did. It was probably just the copies that were in the marketplace at that given time just happened to be listed at lower prices. Maybe some of the higher price copies went off the marketplace for whatever reason. So you saw a lower price point, but that lower price point in Crystal Commerce gets eyes on the card. Once eyes are on the card, all bets are off. And I think that's what just happened right now. The Abyss is an awesome card, another one of these classic cards that has a lot of potential for growth, and I do think this is a buyout, though. This feels a little artificial. It will probably go up more over the course of the week as more of the copies are taken off the marketplace, but then expected to start to snap back as those copies are returned to the marketplace. And number 1, Force Field from Unlimited, up 306.09 to 464.50. So this looks like a buyout as well. I mean, this is a great card. It does well in like 93-94 format and such. But this is a huge increase for 1 week. It does feel like market manipulation here. All right, let's move on to some notable cards. There's a few things I want to point out to you. Some other cards that are from Vintage and Legacy that look like they're growing. You're also going to find some Pauper cards here because Pauper has been pretty hot. We'll talk more about that in a second. We'll begin with Bizarre Baghdad. This is a card we've been tracking over the last few weeks. I won't go into all the gory details because we talked about it in length in other videos, but it is trending down as I expected, down $177.37 this week to $1,497.99. So I expect this trend to continue. All right, are you ready for some Pauper? I hope so, because we're going to start off with Standard Bearer, up 83 cents to 182. So Pauper right now, we talked about it last week, but what's going on with that is Channel Fireball through the month of January has added it as part of their side event program for GPs. And with that being said, a lot of people have been excited about the format. And I don't think it's just about Channel Fireball. I mean, yes, there's people that want to play it at those events. But also, too, when a big company makes a move like that, it adds to a lot of speculation that others may follow, like Star City Games or something like that. So if that's the case, or if Channel Fireball decides to extend this beyond January, what have you, a lot of people are thinking that Pauper could start to take off a little more. So it means a lot of people are thinking of building decks, and that's what you're seeing right now, folks going out there trying to assemble their decks. I mean, some people have speculated that folks are trying to buy out some of these cards too. I mean, maybe some of the more weird, rare versions, like promos and such, perhaps. But at the same time, like, I don't really think that's very lucrative, because let's say you move a card up 83 cents, what are you really getting out of it? I don't think anyone's really trying to do that. So I do think it's just increased attention on the format. So a card like this reaps the benefits this week. And there's a number of other good cards. I might actually do a Pauper market watch later this week, because there's a lot that are moving. They're moving high percentage-wise. They're not necessarily moving high financially, because, again, these are not expensive cards typically, with a few exceptions. But if you're interested in building a deck or maybe getting rid of some of your old commons that you don't need anymore, you may want to keep a really close eye on that marketplace. All right, here's another one that's kind of a weird one. This is Circular Logic, 2 versions here. The Torment version going up $344 to $569, with the Friday Night Magic promo version going up $624 to $899. So a couple things I want to say about this card. First off, I typically don't talk about foils and promos on these videos unless it's a situation where I feel like the price is relatively stable and there's a lot of data points out there, because they can be very misleading. I actually get this question a lot, and I do mention it from time to time, but the reason I steer clear of those is because a lot of times when people buy these things, they buy them at like GPs and stuff like that, or big events, or their LGSs. So those price points don't necessarily get computed into Crystal Commerce. What you see more so in Crystal Commerce is what people are listing things on like TCG Player or Channel Fireball, Star City Games, eBay, that type of stuff. So you start to see a picture of a card that can be skewed if you don't have enough data points. If you don't have enough data points as far as listings, sales, that type of thing, sometimes you see weird price movements. And that's why I'm careful with cards like this, because there's not a lot of data points for some of these foil cards, some of these promo cards in the system. So that's why sometimes you see these incredible spikes or incredible drops, and it just doesn't make sense, and people kind of panic and think there's some sort of buyout or something, and it's not really. It's just that there's like one card listed this week, you know? So you have to be really careful. If you don't have the data points to kind of iron out a true picture, you get a misrepresentation. And I try not to talk too much about anything that I might think is a misrepresentation on these videos. I feel comfortable with this one, though. The other thing I want to mention, too, which could confuse some people, Circular Logic isn't uncommon. This was never printed at Common and Paper, so how does this make it into Pauper? Well, because Pauper was really first and foremost a Magic Online format, this card did see a printing, and there's a lot of cards like this, actually, that did see a printing as a common in like Vintage Masters or other Magic Online exclusive things. So in this case, because of Vintage Masters, it is legal. Now, I would check with your tournament organizer and just make sure they're cool with that, but most go by the Magic Online guidelines, which means this card, which is a big part of the Inside Out combo deck, will be legal. So it is a card that's garnered a lot of attention. Gosh, all right, speaking of a card that's garnered a lot of attention in the world of Pauper, this thing's really taking off. I mean, if you don't play Pauper, you probably know Gush from Vintage or from Cube. It's a really good card, and you can see here all 3 versions of it have been increasing. The dual deck Jace versus Chandra version up $1 to $8.93. Mercadian Masks, the original, up $1.08 to $6.63. And then finally, the dual deck Anthology version up $7.21 to $14.75 this week. All right, so let's move from the world of Pauper back to some more Legacy. And you have Island of Wak Wak here up $30.42 to $132.23. I wanted to point this out because this feels like maybe the beginning of a buyout. It was increasing a little bit this week. Yesterday it went up even more. And this is a card that is just really undervalued. I've said that for a long time, and I hope you listened to me and picked up a copy for your collection, because I feel like this is starting to grow and gain some momentum. Mishra's Factory back again. This is Antiquities again. This time it's the fall variant of $43.51 to $75. This feels like a buyout to me again. I feel like people saw the winter variant climb and they're like, well, maybe I'll try to buy out one of these. Let's go with fall. So I think that's what you're seeing here. I expect this to maybe go up a little more, and then again, much like we saw winter, quickly get sold back. And we'll close things out today with one more Antiquities card. This is Strip Mine. This is the Small Tower variant. This was on our list a couple weeks ago, I think in our notable mentions, I believe. And it was going up a little bit. Well, it looks like the buyout is really taking hold here, up $240.48 to $266.44. So either we saw the beginning of the buyout, or because it went up a little bit in price, again, it got on people's radar because it was showing up on some of the lists and somebody went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. That's what you're seeing here. I would expect a pretty quick snapback here as well. And those are the cards for this week. So we got a lot going on the channel this week. We will be doing a Pauper special edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, so watch out for that. We're also going to do a special edition of Rivals of Ixalan once we see how the weekend tournaments have played out and how those tournaments impact card values. That's going to be important to watch. And then finally, too, at some point I do want to open some product. I usually open a fat pack on the Friday it comes out, but I have a really weird story. I'll save it for the video because I don't want to take up any more of your time today. But yeah, I tried to give Wizards my money. I couldn't get a fat pack. LGS, Target, Walmart, you name it. Just not stocked anywhere. Not that they sold out or anything, just not stocked. So I'll give you the whole story in that video. But until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe. Have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.